you guys will get all my wisdom, and then when they come in, well, they're out of luck.
No, this is the first meeting. All right, so our guest speaker tonight is David Chylstek. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Hi. So like Jody said, my name's David Chylstek. I work for since '96 out here in animation. I started off working for a really small company called Part2. They were based in Santa Monica, and I got the job. It was a freelance job, and I did a storyboard for them, and they liked my work, and they hired me to work in-house, and that's kind of been the nature of my career, I think. I think it's the nature of most people's careers in animation. A lot of jobs, even Disney now, for character animation, but also for a lot of things where it used to be a really steady place to work. Because of the climate of the industry, things are a lot more job to job in feature as well as in television. I work primarily out here in TV, and I've worked for everybody. I've worked for, I don't think there's a major studio out here that I haven't worked for in some capacity. The only place I haven't worked in-house, but I've done a lot of freelance for, is Nickelodeon. You know, it's, when you talk about freelance, it's getting work. I told Jody when I asked a couple of my friends, and they said what I should do is just say, don't be a dick, and drop the mic and just say thanks. But it's kind of, you know, at first I thought it was kind of funny, but there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of the jobs that I've gotten have been because of they like the work, but that's only one part of it. Some of the other things are what I would say. There's, I don't know. I told Jody I came up with this on the fly. So, but it kind of is the 7 P's to being employed and getting freelance work. And the first one is kind of when you're starting out, and even when you're in the business for a while, is positivity. So you have to be positive about your abilities, and you have to really be optimistic and be realistic, but you have to be positive that you're going to get work, because sometimes it's difficult in our business to actually get, you know, the ball rolling. And sometimes even if you've been employed for a while, you know, the climate can be up and down, and you might end up getting laid off, and you might be laid off for a few months, a couple weeks, a year, and it happens to a lot of really, really good people. And you have to really stay positive, because a lot of people don't, and they drop out and they get kind of discouraged. So the first thing is to really be positive about it, and really be passionate about what you want to do. I guess that's another P I didn't put up there, but have a passion for what you do. If you know the area that you want to get into, really focus on that and get good at that. Don't worry about somebody telling you there's no job in that field, or the market is dried up, or it's hard. Focus on what you love to do and do it well. And then you can focus on other things after you kind of get really good at that. I started out doing storyboards. I like it. I love it, actually. And but I've done character design. I've done BGs. You know, whatever. But it was only after I kind of got good at storyboarding and really kind of understood it before I felt comfortable kind of branching out, and also before studios kind of trusted me because they liked the work I did in storyboarding to kind of say, hey, you want to do character design, or you want to do BG. So that's the first one. Let's see. Proficiency. It's kind of what I said. Get good at what you love to do. No studio is going to, they'll hire you, but if you're not capable of the work, you may get it, but you may find yourself falling behind if you're not really focused on the work that you're doing and get really good. So I would say really focus on what you do and really try to hone what you do and get good at it. You know, you guys know this. If you want to be want to draw the human body, you have to, or you want to be an animator, you have to kind of understand anatomy. You take light drawing classes. And, you know, even if you're not that great of an artist, you still should understand how anatomy works and how a character moves and how a character, even at rest, stands, convey emotion. I'd say take a sketchbook with you everywhere and really study people at school, sit down, just scribbles. They don't have to be Michelangelo, but at least you get an understanding of anatomy and what you're doing. So anyway, I would say that that's another one, is to get good at what you do. Find what you like to do, what you're good at, and get really good at it. Because there's a lot of people out there, if you're not dedicated and you're not passionate, there's somebody who is, guaranteed. Persistence. That's kind of goes to what I was saying. Get good at what you do, but don't give up. If you're going to knock on a lot of doors, and it may take, you may be lucky, you may be that 1 in 1,000 person who shows up somewhere and Disney's falling at your feet, you know, offering you a contract and a job, but most people have to really work at it. And, you know, you have to set up, you have to do everything that you possibly can to put yourself in the best position to succeed. And you guys know probably far more than I do about social media, about setting up blogs and setting up Twitter accounts and going on Facebook. And I can talk a little bit later on about etiquette and things that, you know, companies will frown on if you're not careful and that kind of stuff. We'll get into that a little bit. So persistence, I think it's important. I think you have to put that in, and you have to have an attitude that there is no failure. It's just another step to your success in what you do. Professionalism. So when you finally land your job, you get your big opportunity, and the studio is willing to hire you, and they say, hey, we want to bring you on for this project, and it might be a very temporary thing. If it is, even if it isn't, and it's long term, you want to be a professional. By being a professional, you want to, what I mean by that is you want to show up, you want to get to know people, you want to kind of meet them face to face, if possible. And if you don't, you still have your correspondence with people. And you want to make sure that you are never in a position where you have to defend your actions. And I can tell you, from working as a director, working in-house in different places, there's one constant. People screw up royally all the time. And they screw up, it's not so much the work, although sometimes that's part of it, but how they mess up the most is they blow their deadlines. They don't, it's amazing how, if you have a 4-week deadline to turn in the storyboard, how people will disappear by week 3, and you can't find them for the next 3 weeks. And they turn in work that's substandard, late. Don't be one of those people, because there's nothing, I mean nothing, that is a bigger kiss of death than to not be accountable for yourself. So there's one thing you take away from what I'm telling you guys. Be a professional and be punctual with what you do. And that's the other P. Oops, wait. Oh, nope, there's personable, proactive, wait. Oh, maybe it's not there. But anyway, it's punctuality is part of it. It's being a part of, you're hired to do a job, do it. And make sure if you're going to be late for any reason, give them notice and tell people that you're going to be late on whatever it is. But it also goes to, as far as professionalism goes, it's just the way you carry yourself. If you show up to work, make sure you've taken a shower. Make sure that you're wearing some clean clothes. I know you laugh. There's some stinky people that work in the animation field. You know, and I have a really good friend who is a line producer at Marvel, and we were talking about this class, and he said to me, and actually I should quote him because this is what he said to me. He said, speaking from production, hitting deadlines and staying on top of those guarantee further freelance work and can lead to in-house opportunities. I'm very loyal to those people. So, you know, but also if you show up there, having said that, there's another guy that I work with in-house who actually lost his job because he went on Facebook and threw up a huge rant because he thought he wasn't going to be retained at the studio. And he was. The irony was is they were going to keep him, but they let him go because of his rant. So, you know, anything you put up on Facebook or on social media, guaranteed somebody is going to see it and it's going to have consequences if it's negative. So a piece of advice that I was given from other people who were very active in social media is don't put up anything that you wouldn't want to say to your mom. So keeping, you know, if you're going to put a social, and you should, a blog or anything, keep it about your work. You know, keep it separate from your personal accounts. Keep a professional account. That way you can talk about your process, how you come about your work, your thought process. Those are the things that employers are interested in. And also keep it updated on a constant basis because people will, they'll pay attention to that as well to see how passionate you are, how dedicated you are. It just kind of reveals a lot about a person to see their blog, and if their blog sits for a month and they don't post anything, people think you're not very interested in the work, and it says a lot about maybe, or even if it doesn't, it says something about the dedication. It's a turn on. So, let's see. The next thing, personable. Don't be a dick. Be nice to the people that you work with. Again, like I bring up this guy, and it's funny because we always thought that he was a guy that if you told it was a cautionary tale, people would think you're making it up. But, you know, this was a guy who, that I worked with and not that long ago, who just, same guy, with the social, with the rant on Facebook, he thought everybody was against him. He was difficult to work with. He constantly ignored the director's comments and things that they wanted to fix. He was the kind of guy who came in late, we left early. You know, there's nothing that's a bigger turn on than that. And I know by nature most of us are pretty shy. Artists are kind of shy, and it's an isolated thing. It's personal. It's your work. And I'm not saying you want to go out and you're like, hey, it's fantastic to meet you and blah blah blah. But it really does help to at least put on a brave face and say hi to people and talk, and because people remember you, and that's how you get contacts. For the most part, how you get jobs is through contacts and people that you get to know and friends you get to make in the studios, and you'll be surprised how that means a lot. It means a lot. The contacts you make, even here at school, the people that you go to school with, your friends might land a job at Pixar. They might be able to land you a job at Pixar because they work there. You know, but if you're somebody that doesn't get along with people, they may not be so inclined to recommend you because it looks bad on themselves. It's a reflection on them. Let's see. Proactive. This goes, even when you're looking for a job, you need to be proactive. You need to go and look for whatever lead or contact that you can get. You need to be aggressive about it. Look at DVDs or on stream the credits. If you want to work in film, pause when your credits are rolling and look and see what studio did what work and who the animators are. Look who the lead animator or the director, and Google them and see if they have a website. And you can always reach out to those people. It's a very easy, and I don't think a lot of people do that, way of getting your name out there and your stuff across. You know, when you have a job, being proactive means to ask questions. A lot of people, and a lot of times you're new, and you feel like you're kind of, I don't know, people feel like they should know everything, and they're afraid to ask questions of their directors. And a lot of times, what I've seen in my professional career, what I've had happen, is somebody's afraid to ask a question, so they'll mess up even further. And then a lot of times you say, well, why didn't you ask that question, or why didn't you, and they're afraid. So don't, because there really are no stupid questions. I'd much rather, as a director, get a question that I might think is, well, that's simple, but you asked it, then you not ask it, and then I get the work, and it's unusable because you didn't ask whatever question, or whatever you did is wrong, and then you have to kind of go through a whole process of fixing it, and that costs money. Studios don't want to do that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, being proactive. It means if the hard things, if you think that you've bit off more than you can chew, and it's going to take you longer, you need to be upfront with people and tell them, I need a little more time. I'm going to be a little late with this. Because nothing pisses off production more than having to hunt down an artist and find their work or find somebody, because they're afraid to tell them that they're going to be late. And you may not believe this, but and these are guys that work in the business for decades, will tell you, I'll have that, oh yeah, I'm going to have it for you by the deadline for sure. And then a couple days from the deadline, they say, oh, I'm going to be a little bit late, but I should have it by the next day. And then they disappear for like a week, and then they end up having to be hunted down by production, and the work that they give you, it's obvious, it's not finished. And those people don't get work again from that production. We just had a guy do that to us at Marvel, and who I work for. I work for Marvel Animation. And this guy will never use him again. And this guy has been in the business 20, 25 years. You'd think he'd know better. He's a director. He's really good. He just bit off more than he could chew. So by being proactive, if you're going to be late, give production enough notice. Give whoever you're working for the heads up. Don't be afraid to do that, because that's something that they'll appreciate a lot more than you trying to get the work done and then blowing the deadline and keeping your mouth shut. And so they'll be, yeah?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
There's a saying in the industry that you only get one favor, and in many regards. I don't know if that's just like a saying or something.
That's a saying. There's lots of guys that screw up a million times. There's not, the myth is that work is really, there's a ton of artists out there, and you're a dime a dozen. But the truth of the matter is there's very few people that can do what we do and do it well and be personable and be. It's amazing how if you can do 2 out of 3 things, if you can be a good person, easy to work with, you're really talented, you do a good job, and you're on time, right? 3 things. You would think if you can do at least 2 of those 3 things, you will get a lot of work and you will stay employed. You know how many people can't do 2 out of those 3 things? Probably, I'd say, a good 30%. But yet they still get employed because they may not be the best artist, and they may not always be on time, but they know people. Or they might be really talented, but a real asshole to work with, but they manage to get work because they're talented. But they may not be able to meet a deadline. But the myth is that we're a dime a dozen, and that's not true. So if you can do some of these things, I guarantee you, if you're good at what you do, you will find work, and you will be able to go and have a long career doing what you love to do. So there's more than one favor. But if you make a bad name for yourself, that gets around like wildfire. And it really does. And it's amazing how you can have a 10-year career being a great really on time and really, and you have one mistake and you blow it, people will remember that, and it will get around that you blew a deadline or you blew whatever. Not that it's going to ruin you, but it certainly gets around. And the more often you do that, the less employable you become. And if you're freelance and you're doing a lot of work based on word of mouth, which is how a lot of people stay employed, that can kill you. It can definitely kill you. Punctual. So it's part of the thing. Meet your deadlines. Don't. And another friend of mine gave me this piece of advice, and he said, let's see if I can find this here. He said, well, he basically was saying, because he screwed up with Marvel, with what he was doing, tell them not to bite more than they can chew. Time management and communication with clients. I learned it the hard way. You learn what the client needs in terms of your setup and what they want, and then you go from there. But it is true, like you need to be realistic with yourself. If you think you're going to get a deadline that's really impossible for you to meet, you need to be honest with yourself and you need to be honest with your client. But when you take a job, you should meet the deadline whenever you have it. It's the biggest way to kill your career is to be late with blow your deadlines and to do it on a consistent basis. People don't want to hide, especially when you're new. They'll just figure you can't do the job and come back when you're ready. Oh, that might be it on the 7 Ps. But this is the one thing that I did want to talk about too was getting account financial. Whenever you're doing freelance work, you're going to have to pay taxes on it, and a lot of times the employer will not take the taxes out. I'm not a financial expert, but this site will. It's a very good site, and it will explain everything that you will need to ever know for your taxes and what to do. So if you want to write that down, look it up. She's based out of New York, I think, and she has a very comprehensive list of freelance tax things to go over. So, let's see. Yep. Let's see. Proactive, personable, professionalism, consistency, efficiency. Yep. So it's kind of, in a nutshell, it really is about being, when you're doing your work and you want to break in, it's tough and it's not easy. And a lot of the things that I touched on here will help you once you kind of get a job. But finding a job, and I know everybody wants that magic pill to say like, hey, here's this place you go to and they'll guarantee, you'll be working for Pixar next week. Unfortunately, I don't think that exists. It's kind of a lot of hard work and it's a lot of groundwork. You have to really get to know people. You have to really hone your craft and get good at what you do. And you have to do the legwork and not give up. And you just have to look for every avenue you can to get a job. Go attend, there's a lot of industry parties that that you guys can go to. The CTN, the expos that they have. There's Women in Animation. They're all very good places to go and get to meet people. You meet your teachers. Your teachers can help you with that. Maybe they know people in studios that need work. I don't know, do you guys know Robert St. Pierre?
Of course.
So, Robert's with me on the executive board for the Animation Guild. And, we know a lot, we always know the inside stuff of what's going on in the studios and who's hiring and who isn't. So it's not a bad person to talk to. And he's a pretty nice guy. So, anyway, so that's it. That's my little spiel. So I'll open it up for questions if you guys have stuff that you want to talk about. I know you got a million questions. Come on. So come on, I'll take that one hand. Jody.
Well, I was looking to talk a little bit about when you're freelancing and you're negotiating
The deal.
how do you not get gypped?
The best thing that I think is open communication in regards. you know, people want to be very tight-lipped about their salaries, and I understand that, but you can always give people a ballpark figure. You know, I can tell you that the industry standard for most studios or storyboard people, if you're working for Marvel or for Disney or for, and this is on the TV side, is about $2,200 a week. So, and the freelance page rate is usually for storyboards is about $600 to $700 per page for script. So
Is there a place where you can exceed?
the union, go to the Animation Guild. It's www.animationguild.org, I believe. You can look up, we have a wage survey that we do, so it will tell you the wages. If you go on the site and look it up, it'll tell you the wages that you can expect to make. It's what people are making. It's a pretty accurate barometer of where the industry is. So that's a good place to start. And I think you should go into it informed as much as possible, because you can really get ripped off from especially small studios. And I think a lot of times smaller studios prey on you guys coming out of school because they can afford to rip you off the easiest, in the sense of working you too many hours, not paying enough money, lowballing where you should be, and telling you, oh, well, that's the best we can do. And, you know, I guess if you want the job, you're going to have to accept that. So I do think being informed is not a bad thing, and then the choice is yours of whether you want to take the job or not. You know, it's rough because there are a lot of smaller studios. The bigger studios can't because of the union. We protect, you know, the union does a good job of protecting the artists from abuses of working unpaid overtime, a fair wage, health care.